So, let's talk about Warren Buffett. We're going to dive into how one of the richest people in history built this massive, multi-billion-dollar empire. And here's the thing. It wasn't with some crazy complex algorithm or super risky trades. Nope. It was built on just a few, almost shockingly simple rules.
I mean, what if the secrets to getting rich weren't really secrets at all? What if they were just sitting there, right out in the open, for anyone who was willing to listen? That's kind of the whole deal when you really start looking at the life of Warren Buffett.
Yeah, because that's the real story, isn't it? It's not about being some off-the-charts genius. It's about discipline. It's about having this unwavering commitment to a few core ideas. And that whole philosophy, well, believe it or not, it all started with something tiny.
I'm serious. You heard me right. The journey to a fortune worth over $100 billion didn't begin on Wall Street. It started on a sidewalk in Omaha with a simple piece of gum.
So first up, we've got to look at how he got his start. Because you can't really understand the legendary investor without understanding the kid. The kid who, from day one, was just obsessed with making a profit.
Just listen to this. The confidence here is just wow. And you have to remember, this wasn't some 50-year-old billionaire reflecting on his life. This was his mindset from the absolute beginning, back when his entire business operation could fit in his pockets.
And look at this. This is basically his business school. It's 6 years old. He's buying packs of juicy fruit and selling the individual sticks for a profit. A few years later, he's doing the same thing with Coca-Cola, figuring out arbitrage and hitting a 20% profit margin. When he delivered newspapers, he didn't just throw them on the porch. He optimized his route and sold magazine subscriptions on the side. And the pinball machine business? Come on, that was a masterclass. He took one $25 machine, reinvested the profits, and built a whole fleet, selling it for over $1,000.
So, what does all this add up to? Well, here's the kicker. By the time he graduated from college, all those little hustles, they had compounded to $9,800. Now, that might not sound like a ton, but in today's money, that's about $115,000. He had already built his own little fortune before most people even got their first paycheck. Okay, so from those early days, let's fast forward a bit. How did those lessons from selling gum and fixing up pinball machines turn into the world-famous philosophy that runs Berkshire Hathaway today? It really comes down to these 4 big ideas. First, his circle of competence. Basically, only invest in stuff you actually get. Second, look for economic moats, companies that have some kind of killer, durable advantage. Third, always demand a margin of safety. Buy things for less than they're worth. And finally, and this might be the most important one, is temperament. He says emotional discipline is way more important than having a genius IQ.
And this quote right here, that's his circle of competence in a nutshell. Think about it. For decades, he famously stayed away from tech stocks. Was it because he thought they were bad companies? No. It was because he felt like he just didn't understand them deeply enough. For him, the real risk isn't a bouncy stock market. It's you not knowing what the heck you own.
I love this one. It's such a great visual, right? He's not just buying a stock, he's buying a fortress. And that moat around the castle, what is it? It could be an insanely powerful brand, like Coca-Cola, or a super low-cost way of doing business that no one can copy. It's that protective barrier.
And here we get to the absolute core of his strategy. The stock market is screaming a price at you every single day. Your job? Ignore the noise and figure out what the business is actually worth. The whole game is to buy it for way less than that intrinsic value. That gap, that's your margin of safety. It's your buffer in case you messed up your calculations.
Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this stuff actually play out in the real world? Let's get into some case studies, some of his most famous buys, where he wasn't just buying a stock ticker, he was buying an entire business he planned to hold, pretty much forever.
Okay, let's look at See's Candies and GEICO. These two were huge for him, but they taught him totally different things. See's Candies, that was all about brand loyalty. People love that chocolate, and it taught him that it's actually smart to pay a higher price for a truly fantastic business. Then there's GEICO. Their moat was being a low-cost operator, but the real genius there was the insurance float. That's all the premium money customers pay up front, which he gets to invest for Berkshire before paying out claims. So one's a cash-gushing machine, the other is this giant pool of capital he can use. Brilliant. And that brings us to maybe his most famous investment of all time, Coca-Cola. Picture this. It's 1988, right after the big market crash. Everyone is panicking, but Buffett? He does the opposite. He sees this incredible, globally recognized brand on sale, and he plows $1.3 billion into it. And guess what?
He's pretty much never sold a single share. And just by holding on, that $1.3 billion has ballooned into, well, over $30 billion today. But hold on, because that's not even the craziest part of the story. Check out the cash flow. This year alone, Berkshire is expected to get around $848 million just in dividends from Coke. Let that sink in. He's getting back more than 60% of his entire original investment every single year in cash, without selling anything. It's become a literal perpetual money machine.
This mindset, it doesn't just stop with the stock market. It completely bleeds into his personal life. You see, for Buffett, every single dollar he even thinks about spending is viewed through this lens of opportunity cost. He's always thinking, what could this dollar turn into if I invested it instead?
And the contrast between him and, well, pretty much any other billionaire is just wild. You expect mega mansions, fleets of supercars, all that stuff. But Buffett's life? It looks shockingly normal. And trust me, that is 100% by design.
Get this, he still lives in the exact same house he bought back in 1958. He paid $31,500 for it, over 60 years ago. He actually calls it one of his best investments ever, just because it gave him and his family a happy, stable life without any financial stress.
And if you need one story that sums it all up, it's this one from Bill Gates. He talks about going to lunch with Warren, and Warren offers to pay. Then he digs into his pocket and pulls out coupons to pay for McDonald's for Bill Gates. It's not about being cheap, it's just this deeply, deeply ingrained principle. Never waste a dollar that could be working for you.
So, as we start to pull all this together, it becomes pretty clear, right? His success isn't really about being a stock-picking wizard. It's about having a complete, coherent philosophy about money, about discipline, and about the power of time.
And it all comes back to his most famous rule of all. Now, he doesn't literally mean an investment can never go down. What he means is you have to prioritize not losing your capital. Avoid the big, stupid, permanent mistakes. Because if you can just avoid getting wiped out, you can stay in the game long enough for that compounding magic to really take over.
So when you look back at it all, Buffett's single greatest investment wasn't a stock or a company. It was the philosophy itself. A set of rules he's followed with almost superhuman discipline for, over 70 years now? So I guess the final question for you is, which one of his rules could you invest in for your own life?